Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please bring your attention to your television, computer, or whatever device you happen to be watching this on, and put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Chester Hallett in his very first sit-down comedy routine, Funny Stories. Oh, thank you. Please sit down. Man, I just flew in and man, are my arms tired. Boom, boom. No, but seriously though, how about giving it up for that announcer? Man, he was great. But now, this is my stand-up special that I've been promising for my 100 subscriber special, and man, I really appreciate everybody once again for when I started this way back a couple months ago. I didn't even know if I'd ever get 1 subscriber, so to have 100 here just a couple months in, to me is downright amazing, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and that I call Chet's crew, and yeah. So anyway, on with the show. I can remember way back, even when I was young, doing things that would make people laugh. I guess, well, sometimes some people, but not others. I can remember way back when I was probably not much older than 4 or 5. I don't even know if I was going to school yet. I, my older brother and I, because I don't think my younger brother was born yet, was sitting at the supper table, and we was arguing about something, and I remember he was getting on my nerves. So, and like I said, we were eating, and I took my fork and I threw it straight at him, and it stuck him right here in the chin. And it actually broke the skin and hung in there, and here was the fork dangling there to be shin down here. My older brother, man, he has never let me forget that over the years, and he always says, "Do you remember that time you stuck the fork in my chin there?" And we always get a big laugh out of it. And, I mean, it probably wasn't funny for him at the time, but it was for me. It was quite hilarious. But anyway, no, and then just accentuate more of how I used to make people laugh even at a young age. I remember I was probably about 6 or 7 by now. I was up to one of my cousins' birthday parties, and we were playing the regular kids' birthday games like pin the tail on the donkey and things like that. But anyway, they decided they were going to have a joke competition. So, and whoever could, whatever one of us kids could tell the best joke and make the adults in the room laugh, then they would win some kind of a little prize. I can't remember what it was now, but anyway, I decided I was going to tell a knock knock joke. So the knock knock joke went as follows, and I guess I must have had I think I was missing some teeth at the time, so I had a bit of a lisp when I spoke. So, and I said, "Knock, knock," and they said, "Who's there?" I said, "Ben." They said, "Ben who?" I said, "Been knocking so long my knuckles are sore." And my cousin's older brother, who was one of the overseers of the party there, he immediately shut things down. He said, "No." He said, "There ain't going to be nothing any funnier." He said, but I think he was getting a kick out of how I pronounce knuckles. But anyway, yeah, so that's just one of the things there I remember is being a kid, how I even would make older people laugh even as a kid. But yeah, moving along here, I just wanted to talk about how when my wife and I first got together, and I'm not going to get into it too much because I already done a video about how my wife and I got together. It's a Valentine's video if you want to go back and take a look at it. But I remember telling her on the very first night that I asked her to go with me that I told her I would marry her that night, and and I just knew she was the woman that I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and I guess it kind of freaked her out, but thankfully it never scared her off, I guess. We started our family together with a dog. His name was Spike. He was a Labrador Retriever mix, and he was going to be a big dog, so I told my wife when he was small, I said, now when I go to work, I said, don't let the dog get up in the bed, because if he gets used to sleeping in the bed, he's going to be way too big to be in between us while he's after he grows up. So anyway, as soon as I went to work in the mornings, Annette was like, she loved the dog, so she was like, here, Spike, come up and lay down, boy. So anyway, that's what happened. He got used to laying in the bed, and sure enough, when he got bigger, he would crawl up in the bed between us, and he'd put his back against his mother and shove me out with his paws. And so, anyway, I had to go out and sleep on the Chesterfield, and I had to go to work the next morning to give the bed to the dog and Annette. Then we moved out of that first little house we lived in together, and moved over to a little community named Osborne. And when we moved over there, we ended up getting a cat to grow our family. And wasn't quite, my wife was pregnant with our son at the time, but he wasn't born yet. And so Spike, he was like a friendly dog, never had a mean bone in his body, and he made friends with the cat immediately there, and they loved each other so much there that they'd, even when they were outdoors together, they'd sleep in his doghouse together. But anyway, one night they were in the house together overnight, and we had this severe thunderstorm, and anybody who has pets knows that sometimes dogs and cats are pretty scared of thunder. So I got up the next morning after this severe thunderstorm, and I got up on the edge of the bed, and I started to smell something right horrible. So I looked down between my legs, and luckily enough I hadn't stepped in it, but there was a big old steaming pile of spit. And if you go back to my explicit word replacement, I wasn't talking about spit. The second letter wasn't P, it was H. So there's that. But anyway, yeah, so I was had my feet straddled over this big old giant steaming pile of spit, and so anyway, I stepped over it and went to walk out into the hallway, and there was a little steaming pile of spit. So then I looked up the hallway, and there was another big steaming pile of spit. Then there was another little pile of spit, a big pile of spit. The dog and the cat had been so scared that they went on a spit fast up and down the hallway. And we always just remember them back. Like I can remember, like I said, my wife was like 8 months pregnant, and she was like, "Oh, you can't leave this all to me. You got to help me clean it up." Like, and I used to work at a fish plant. Like, I could put my hands in fish guts up to my armpits, wouldn't bother me a bit. But defecation or vomit, oh man, it's bad. I couldn't stand it. So anyway, I was trying to help her. I took an old cereal box, and I cut it in half and cut one flap off it, made it kind of like a dustpan. And I took the other flap that I cut off of it, and I was shoving it together, putting it into the thing there, and the smell was wafting right up as I was moving it around. It was like I was going, bleh, bleh. And, oh, it was disgusting. But we always remember back that time, and we always get a big laugh out of it, and it wasn't very funny at the time, of course. But then in a little over a month's time later, our family grew even bigger when we had our son Bailey. We named him after Scott Fox's character on Party of Five. His name was Bailey on there, and his nickname was Bay, and that's what I really liked about the name, was the nickname Bay. That's what we call our son, Bay. And Anyway, he doesn't like the name very, or he never did like the name very much, because after he was born, we found out like Bailey can also be a girl's name, and and it was also a lot of dogs' names. So Bailey said, "I don't know why you guys had the name of Bailey." He said, "Because it's only ever a girl's name or a dog's name." He was always used to say that. So by this time we had moved out of the little community of Osborne and moved up closer to my work here towards Shelburne, and we were renting a place here in Shelburne. And there was a big blue water tower across the road, and I was out watching Bailey one day when he was a toddler, and I was frigging around with something in the car, and I was keeping my eye on him. He was playing in a little sand pile that we had out in front of the house there for him to play in. He was playing with these little dump trucks or sand pail and spade or whatever it was he had at the time. And like I said, I was fiddling with something in the car, but I was looking up like every 10, 15 seconds. But anybody who has a kid knows that kids are pretty fast and they can move pretty quick and get away from you pretty quick. But anyways, so I was, like I said, I kept looking up at him like every 10, 15 seconds. And this one time when I looked up, he was gone. I was like, uh-oh, where'd he go? So anyway, I jump out of the car and look all around and start hollering for him. And by that time, Annette had heard me hollering and said, "What's going on?" I said, "I can't find Bailey." So anyway, I happened to look across the road, and here he was running these little legs across the road there out behind this blue water tower. So anyway, I didn't want him to get into the woods out behind there, so I took running after him. And there was a big fence out around the water tower, so nobody could get right into it. So when I got to the front end of the fence, here he was just going way down to the back end of the fence. So I said to holler to Annette, "Come over and cut him off at the pass. He's going around." So anyway, I took the running. By the time I got down to the back corner, he was just coming around the other corner, coming out the other way. So I hollered over to Annette, "Cut him off. He's coming out." So anyway, sure enough, she got a hold of him before he got into the woods or anything. So we got him back across the to the house there. Just tried to explain to him like the dangers of running away from us and stuff like that. So, but anyway, it was funny looking back onto it. We always remember that and laugh. And then one day, while we was in that place, we had this next door neighbor. He was an older guy and liked to heavy drink alcohol, if you know what I'm saying. And anyway, he was on a fixed income, and once a month, at the end of the month, when he got his check, he'd come over. He didn't have a telephone, so he'd come over and use our phone to call the taxi and take him downtown, get his groceries and his liquor and whatever. And his name was Doug. So anyway, my mother and father was out watching him one time, and while we was away doing something, and so it was towards the end of the month, and Doug knocked on the door. So anyway, Mom goes and answers the door, and he says, "Hello, is Chester and Annette home?" And Mom says, "No," he says, "they're gone for the day." And he says, "Well, I'm the next door neighbor," he said, "and they always let me use the phone." He said, "Can I come in and use the phone?" And Mom was starting to say, "Well, like, I don't even know you, sir," or whatever. And Bailey hollers, "Oh, Nanny, that's just Doug." So anyway, Mom always got the big kick out of that, to have Bailey had just nonchalantly, "Oh, Nanny, that's just Doug." And he always brings that up sometimes when Bailey's around and stuff. So another memory from when we lived in that place was I was getting ready to go in the shower, and Bailey at the time had this rubber snake that he had been playing with around the house. So, and we'd see it laying in different places, never paid much attention to it. So anyway, I had just got stripped off to go in and take a shower. And no, people, don't try to get a mental picture. It'll make you throw up. But anyways, yeah, I was just getting ready to go in the shower there, and that place where we lived at that time, you could either go into the bathroom from the hallway, or it had another entrance into our bedroom to make it sort of like an ensuite type bathroom. So anyway, we I had come out into the hallway to go into the bathroom from the hallway door. When I stepped in the bathroom, there was a snake sitting on the floor, so I naturally thought it was his rubber snake and never paid much attention to it. But when I stepped in on the floor, it slithered out underneath the other door to our bedroom. So I was like, oh, that's not the rubber snake, it's a real snake. So anyway, I said, man, I got to get this out of the house before Annette comes home. I said, or she's going to freak. So anyway, here I was, naked as a jaybird. It was in underneath of our bed, and a bunch of old boxes that Annette had stored underneath there with stuff we didn't use all the time. So here I was digging these boxes out to find the snake. They were trying to rush around before Annette got home so she wouldn't see the snake in the house and freak out. So anyway, I found it eventually and got it through out the back door into the woods there, and it was, oh man, I remember telling her about it when she came home. She said, man, I'm so glad you got that out of the house before I come home. She said, because that would have been bad. But anyway, you'll notice that I'm cutting and needling some things here together, and I'm not trying to fool anybody like I'm saying this all together in one big thing, because I'm not. I got a little cheat sheet here that I'm looking off of, and I just cutting out the boring parts. I'm not trying to fool anybody into thinking that I'm sitting here rivaling the whole thing off, because I'm not. And I got some pop here that I'm taking a sip of, and just cutting out the boring parts. That's it. But anyway, back to the stories. This next story is quite a funny one in my opinion. I come home from work one day. I used to work at a fish plant, like I said, and I was quite tired and drug out from the day, and so I kicked my boots off and come in and sat down on the Chesterfield to relax. And Bailey was just a little toddler at the time. He was walking and talking good, but anyway, he had crawled up on my lap and saying hi to me or whatever. He crawled up and he had seen something on the television that day, and so he wanted to try it out on me. He said to me, Dad, he said, do you want to play the chin game? And I didn't know what he was talking about, so I said, yeah, okay, let's play the chin game. So anyway, he grabbed me by my chin like this, and he said, I'll hold your chin and you hold mine back. So anyway, I grabbed him by his chin, and he said, the first one to laugh gets a great big smack. And I was like, trying to work it out on my head what he had said in like my tired stupor, and I started to chuckle like that. So anyway, as soon as I chuckled, Part, he reached back to smack. I'll give it to me right across the lips, and I was like in shock. I was like, "You hit me!" Because he hit me hard enough that it moved my head sideways and everything. So anyway, he kind of looked back at me and was like, as if to say, I hit you. And then he jumped down off me and run because he thought he was going to be in trouble. But anyway, I was in too much shock to worry about getting in trouble. But anyway, it was quite funny. So we always were. And then we went down to visit Mom and Dad here a little while after that. And first thing he does, he crawls up on his grandfather and says, hey, Gampy, he used to call him. He said, you want to play the chin game? We're like, no, don't play the chin game. So, anyway, that was always a funny story we remember. So then we get ready to move out to Birchtown, where we live now, and just outside of Shelburne, like 3 minutes outside of the town of Shelburne. And more countryside, reminds me more of where I grew up. It's nice and quiet and nobody bothers you or anything. So anyway, on our way out, we had this cat at the time we called Taker, after the Undertaker, the wrestler there. And so anyway, we were moving out here, and we never had a cat carrier or anything for him, so Annette just had him in her arms. And at the time, I had a little club cab Ford Ranger truck, and as soon as I started the motor on the truck, the cat went crazy. And It jumped out of Annette's arms and started doing laps around the glass on the truck from the. It went from the windshield to the side window to the back window back to the windshield, and it made 3 laps. And I said, "Man, you're going to have to get a hold of that cat." I said, "Because I can't drive like this." So anyway. She got a hold of it after a while and got him settled down and holding him tight there so we could drive. So we got him out there anyway. So then we get out here and got settled. And anyway, so after he passed, we had replaced him with this new cat, and we was keeping this new cat in the house there because we didn't want him to get hurt. So one day I used to dabble with tattooing, and my next door neighbor, I got to know him quite well, and got to be friends with him, and so he had this old examining table from a doctor's office that used to be down in Lockport, and people that know that lived around Lockport will know him as Dr. Jim Robbins. His name was. I've actually got an examining table, which I thought was pretty cool to start with, an examining table from an old doctor that used to be in Lockport. And so anyway, he ended up getting his hands on it somehow, and he gave it to me for a tattoo table for people to lay on if they was getting a tattoo on their leg or back or whatever, in a place where they had to lay down for it. So anyway, it had these adjustable things for like the head on one end and the feet on the other. So, and it was just like a flat table with these, like I say, these flaps that come up for the head and feet. So when the flaps were open, there was a gap in between, like about that thick in between the middle part of the table and the flap. So, but when they were down, the gap only was about that far apart. So I had it out, cleaning it up, and I spray painted it black because it was white and getting rusty. So anyway, after it was all dried up, I was getting ready to bring it in. So right around the same time, Bailey was coming out doors, and the cat got outdoors. He was probably only about 4 or maybe 5. I don't know if he was in school yet, but anyway, he was coming out, and the cat, like I say, the cat had got out, and he was trying to get a hold of the cat so it wouldn't be outdoors. And just the same time, I was getting ready to pick up this table and move it, so I had put my hands down in the little gaps between the flaps. When I did, I must not have had the one side locked in well enough, and it come down and jammed my fingers in the small gap in between the table and that flap. So anyway, I was like hooting and hollering, "Bailey, come help me! Bailey, come help me! Open up this side of the table!" And he was like, "Dad, I'm trying to get the cat." I'm like, "Puck the cat!" I said, "I need your help." So anyway, we always, wow, it hurt bad at the time, but looking back on it, it was pretty funny situation. But yeah, I was like, "Puck the cat!" I said, "Come help me!" And at that point, I didn't really care about the cat. Now, speaking of pets, my wife and son, one time they was on the way home. They seen this little painted turtle in the middle of the road, so they didn't want it to get hurt. So they stopped, and I think that must have had an old ice cream container in the van for some reason at the time, and they stopped and picked it up and put it in this ice cream container and brought it home because Bailey wanted to keep it as a pet. So anyway, he had named it Carl on the way home. I don't know why he called it Carl, but anyway, so it was Carl the turtle. We always called it after that. And so it wasn't even later that day. I had him outdoors, and when we first moved here, there was an old hamster cage out in the building when we first moved here, bought the place, and So anyway, I said, well, I'll go get the hamster cage and put Carl in that, and we'll put a little tray of water in there for him, and see what he get him something to eat, like lettuce or whatever. So anyway, I had made this little hamster cage up with this little water thing into it for Carl, and had him in there. And I was just warning Bailey. I said, now, I want to warn you about Carl. I said, he will bite if you get too close to his mouth. So anyway, I just held Carl up like this. He was only a little turtle. I knew it wasn't going to hurt me. So I put my finger up to him like that, and he reached out and bit me on the end of the finger. Like I say, it didn't hurt. I was just showing Bailey that he would do it. So anyway, he goes, I don't want Carl anymore. So he grabs a hold of the turtle and runs out to the edge of the field and chucks him out in the swampy area that we have out by the corner of the house here. He said, no, I don't want Carl anymore. But anyway, he didn't hurt the turtle. He just landed in the swampy area, like I said, and he probably liked it out there a lot more than being in a cage anyways. And then staying with the theme of animals, I took Annette and Bailey one time when Bailey was just little. We still had him in a stroller, so he wasn't that old. Took him down to Shubenacadie Wildlife Park, and anybody who lives here in Nova Scotia probably knows it. We went down there, and went into the park, and Annette had never been there, which I found hard to believe because I had been there several times as a child. Dad used to take us down there and stuff to see it. So anyway, we walked in through and went through the little museum part that you went through first, and then get out into the park. And the first display we got to was the cougars, and Annette, she loves anything to do with big cats like tigers and stuff like that, and especially tigers. But anyway, she was amazed by these cougars. First time she had ever seen a big cat that close. So they must have been about 6 or 7 cougars of different ages and sizes there. And so anyway, she was like amazed, like, and this was back before digital cameras, and like she had the old disposable crank cameras there, and she had 2 or 3 of them with her there. And man, she was like 45 minutes sitting there looking at these cougars, and she had snapped up like a whole disposable camera full of these cougar pictures. And she was about to start on the second one. And I was like, dear, like, there's other animals in here to see. Like, we still got like an hour of walk around this park. Oh, I know, but they're so beautiful, she said. So looking back on that, we always found it so funny, like how Annette had like and I mean, in her defense, like she had never been there and she loved big cats. So I mean, I can see why she was so amazed by it, and they are beautiful and things like that. So then, uh, a year or two later, in the summer, I took them down to another park in the valley in Nova Scotia here called Oaklawn Farm. So anyway, and they actually had like big tigers and lions and things like that. So, and that was really in our element when we got there. But anyway, the funny story was about there was this area where you walk down in between, just like an open range place where there were llama in there, llama and like the little pygmy goats and things like that wouldn't bother anybody. So there was a walk between before you went on to the next part of the park. So anyway, there was these llamas in there just laying there in the sunning themselves, and just they had their legs tucked in underneath themselves, laying on the ground. So Bailey run up and started rubbing one. So anyway, he was like, and Annette was kind of freaked out, didn't know what the llama was going to do, but they're a pretty docile animal, I guess. So he was rubbing onto it there and loving it and hugging it and stuff there, and the llama wasn't doing anything to him. So he was pretty safe. And then all of a sudden, we looked over, and there was a woman with her child over there rubbing on one of the other llamas, and that llama decided he was going to spit on the woman. So all of a sudden, like they show camels on television, so he hawked up a big spit there and spit on the woman. And so Bailey was like, no, I'm all done with the llamas. So anyway, he moved on, much like Carl. He didn't want nothing to do with the llama anymore after he seen it spit on the woman. So Anyway, we moved on and enjoyed the rest of the park, and Net got to see the tigers and things, and we really enjoyed it. But now my son, he's all grown up, and he'll be 25 this year on his birthday, and it's hard to believe how fast time went by. I think it's when you become a parent that time just seems to fly, because it you watch your kids grow up right before your eyes, and it seems like it's just gone. But anyway, like I said, he's all grown up and moved out on his own. He lives like an hour and a half away, so we don't even get to see him that much. And he's pretty busy working these days, so we don't even get to talk to him that much on the phone. But we keep in contact as much as possible, like through the phone or Facebook or whatever. But yeah, but but now my wife and I is empty nesters and nesters. I don't know why I pronounced it that way. But my wife and I are empty nesters, and a lot of times, like, she's put up with my comedy all of her life, like, and a lot of times she's the butt of a lot of my jokes, and she gets pretty tired of it at times. I've always been like a somebody who likes to poke fun, and sometimes I make people the brunt of my jokes, and nothing mean. Like, I don't mean it in a mean way. It's just poking fun. But I guess I can go too far sometimes. But and like, I don't just do it with her. I do it with a lot of people. It's just the way I am, and I mean, I have a lot for people to make fun of me as well, I guess. But it's and I can take it. Like, I don't mind people making fun of me. Like I said on my video there, where people were saying negative comments about me, like, I really don't care. Like, words to me, words only hurt if you let them hurt, right? So I can take anything. Like, but I mean, a lot of people, yes, I understand that words hurt a lot of people, but they don't hurt me. That's all I'm saying. So because I know words only have power if you give them power. So anyway, but my comedy's lost on my wife sometimes, and she always says, like, I can make a lot of outsiders, like outside the family, laugh like all the time, and like, I have healthcare workers come in and that help me uh, with my daily activities and things that I can't take care of myself because of my problems and health. And so anyway, I've always got them in stitches and things like that. And I said, see, I said, those people find me funny. And she was like, yeah, and that's like, they don't friggin' live with you. If they had to live with you, they wouldn't find you very funny either. But anyway, I've been doing this in pieces, and I don't know for sure what my total time is, so probably getting pretty long. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. And like I say, once again, thank you very much for everybody who subscribed to me, all 100 of you. And I haven't checked yet this morning. Maybe I even got more now. But like I say, I appreciate each and every one of you who subscribed, and I appreciate even the ones who's not subscribed and view me, or anybody that shares and comments. I like it all, whether it's a good comment or a bad comment, because they all help the channel very much. But with that, like always, I'll say, remember, if you can't laugh with me, laugh at me, but keep laughing. Have a nice day.